being recorded.
Welcome to the April 1st OpenJ9 community call. We don't have a lightning talk lined up this week, but we do have one scheduled for April 15th. Babneet will be talking about the foreign memory access JEP that went in at JDK 14. And I've been talking to Keith as well about getting a lightning talk set up around the debug symbol support that's been going in. So hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll have some more of these lightning talks set up. As we usually do, we'll pause for a moment and give anybody an opportunity to throw out any questions or suggestions or additions to the agenda. Okay. Then I'm going to pull up the list of user-raised items, and we'll just take a look at the most recent ones of those. The top one here is an issue that's come in when running Groovy, co-test, and OpenJ9. We're getting an unexpected exception. I know that's being looked at, and Chang has been able to reproduce that. There was a question around the JEP 331, which was added in 11 or 12, where the capability isn't supported on Metronome right now. So I think the fix there will be to make that explicit in our code. And I know Jason's been looking at that. That's targeted to the 021 release, so we have a little bit of time there. And then the next one is something that came up where we were finding that we were getting null out of get module, and that's also being tracked down. And I think we've confirmed that it's not actually get module that's returning null, it's something else. Jason, did you want to chime in on that? Because I believe you've been doing the investigation there.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Basically, I kind of reproduced the exactly same stack trace showing the stop and a line. And basically, it's like invoke a get results from the callback JNI method. And the line I got is in the caller class was null. And from callback case, we do the stack worker and hit the GNI call in frame. Then we just got a null caller class. And when we use this caller class to get its module, then we got a null pointer exception. And currently I'm debating what's the best way to address this issue. Yes, the null pointer exception a little bit different from the initial issue reported, and
okay.
Yeah, that's what I have now.
Okay, thanks, Jason. It sounds like you're making good progress on that.
Thank you.
All right, then, is there any questions on any of the other ones that are tagged here or recent user raised issues? Okay, and we'll jump back to the agenda and take a look at the download trends. Have those been updated? Andrew is usually the one who does that, and I don't see him on the call. Simon, do you know if he's had a chance to update the graphs?
Oh, sorry, I don't.
Okay. Right, then I guess we can skip over this unless there's any questions around last week's numbers. All right. Just a reminder that the milestone 2 builds have come out for the 020 release. So we'll need to make sure that we advertise those appropriately to get any possible feedback on them. With the 020 release, we are past the milestone 2 date now, so that's good. We're sort of ramping in on the April 14th release date. So there are a number of issues that were moved out of the 020 plan and into the 021 plan. For those issues in particular, if we identify a fix between now and the release date, and those fixes are important for user issues or and very safe, we can look at potentially backporting them into the 020 release. So just an awareness there that those issues in particular should continue to be the focus for the next little bit as we try to close out those fixes and if possible, they're safe enough, get them into 020.
There is one that has a fix already. Related to Windows printing.
Sorry, Pete, you're a little hard to understand on that. You said there's one that has a fix already?
There's a fix for one of the problems to do with Windows printing.
Okay.
It's in OMR, and OMR is blocked. There's a bad change that went in, so it hasn't promoted OpenJ9 yet, and I'm not sure what the risk is, but it's something we should keep an eye on.
Okay. So we'll have to engage with the OMR community to see if we can get that into our builds and validate it and a statement on the risk of the change. Just take a note on that. Windows print issue as an OMR fix, but currently blocked. So we have a note here about including the AArch64 build in this release. The group working on that has made some great progress in terms of fixing issues. So our intention at this point is to include the AArch64 platform as an early access platform in this release. That's a belief that the quality is good enough to run, and good enough to use, but we are going to hold back from making that a platform that's on par with our other platforms yet, but still get it included in that release as an early access, so people who are looking for the AArch64 can get something that's well tested and stable and coming out of the 020 release. All right. There's a couple of issues tagged here around JIT server. Question about removing the protobuf library in the 020 release.
So I've been told that's done already.
That's done already. Okay. Great. And then there was a question about enabling JIT server on P at adopt.
Again, done. It is done already.
Both done as well. Okay, yeah. Perfect. All right, that's good to hear. Are there any other comments people want to make on the 020 release as we move towards that April 14 release date?
So I should add, and there's still 2 of the JDK 14 builds underway. They're doing the testing, and the System 390 XL, the large heap build. We've got some problems with the 390 machine for that there at all just yet, but I'm working to get that resolved.
Okay, is there anything that you need help with on the S390 or on the other platforms to get those builds completed?
No, I think, well, there seem to be connectivity and file space issues, disk space issues. So working in the community there.
Okay. Thanks, Simon. So the other thing I want to discuss here is we do have a number of issues that have moved forward from release to release. And we've done that again with 0.20. And so what I'd like to ask the community and everybody on this call to be focused on bringing down those 0.20, all the issues that we moved from 0.20 into 0.21, to have sort of a renewed focus on bringing those down and a renewed focus on some of the user raised issues. We're starting to build up a bit of a backlog of user issues and a bit of a backlog of segfault related issues. And I'd like to see a lot of those get cleared out for the next release. And so we're asking for a sustained focus on the existing user raised issues, the ones we've been moving forward, and the crash issues to get those closed out. So, as you're looking at what to pick up next and what to focus on, please be looking at those issues first. I've stuck a note to that effect in the Slack channel as well. But as we work and as we work with our other teammates as well, just to make sure that message is flowing through everyone looking at work and prioritization of what to be focused on. Okay, and we'll get dates put into this this plan for the code splits and the milestones for the 0.21 release in the near future. I don't have those dates right now, but we'll get that updated. Any questions on either of those two releases? Okay. Shelley, do you want to give an update on the on Adopt?
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff already got mentioned, but we'll mention a few of the things. So I think the debug image support, there were some work items in API, the website, and test repos. I think that has been completed now. A note about the Sanity OpenJDK test target. It now is exactly equivalent to what OpenJDK calls Tier 1. We were close to being equivalent before, but now we match it exactly. You'll notice this in terms of triaging the next release, because you will see that there are not too many flaky tests, so the JDK net tests get moved out into extended with this change, and some of the JDK util tests move out. New tests that are in this group include for JDK 14, a group called JDK Foreign. We have 4 test cases excluded at the moment and are under investigation. We have to figure out why they're failing at Adopt. I think we've seen them run properly in a local setting, so we'll have to look at that. And then I guess having talked with Kano, the recommendation for some of the failing OpenJDK test targets, well, I shouldn't say failing, long-running OpenJDK test targets is to exclude them. And if he wants to run them, he can still run them in grinders, or we can create a special job so that they get run regularly, but they don't increase our execution time too much. And then finally, the note around the OpenJDK build issue 1643, that's to discuss presenting the ARch early access builds at Adopt. That's on the TSE agenda for tomorrow. I think that's about it. If other folks from the project want to say a few things, please do.
No, I think that covers it.
Sorry, I was having trouble getting back off of mute.
I think Colonel Sam's plan was to change the timeout for those OpenJDK tests, by the way.
Yeah, his original plan was, but we've connected yesterday.
Okay.
I would prefer he doesn't do that. We're already at a timeout factor of 8, and I'd like that actually reduced rather than increased for those targets. So he could do that in a branch and run a special job while he's. So my understanding is the reason those are taking a long time is there's a missing JIT optimization or several.
Yeah.
So there's no point taking out or taking down all of these resources at Adopt to run those. If he wants to see them running and passing and not missing that, we can create a special job that runs on the weekend that just runs those 5 test cases. And or just run
good.
those 5 test cases at the OpenJ9 project as well, right?
Shelley, do you foresee any issues with the TSC discussion around 1643?
Well, I guess it depends on what is required. I know we had talked about that this is essentially the equivalent of an early access release, which is not a foreign concept. The upstream builds already serve up early access releases, and in fact, on that page of the website, there's an actual selection you can look for early access releases. I don't think we're talking about updating the main page of the website to have that extra checkbox. I think what was under discussion in that issue is to make sure the binary was labeled with a -EA. So I think because there is precedence, that's a good thing. I think if we were just asking for this special case, it would be, maybe there would be more pushback. My concern, I guess, is can we make sure users see easily get past to the release notes that explicitly describe what are some of the shortcomings or what should their expectations be. I'd like that to be easily shared with people that are grabbing this, or I want to make sure they don't think that Adopt is serving up, builds that aren't up to par, that there is some differentiation, but I don't really want to spend a lot of time updating the website to be explicitly checkboxing for EA release. So yes, we'll discuss that tomorrow. I'll get back to you. I'll send a note to the Slack channel at OpenJ9 on that, or we'll put an update in the issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's been captured in that issue yet, but we had also talked about exposing the EA nature of it in the Java version. So it would be
right. Okay.
Exposed not only in the file name, but in
the
Java version.
A note in the issue before tomorrow then. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure that gets done after this call if that note isn't there already. It may be there. So.
I don't think that has been captured. So yeah, we need to add that. Thanks, Dan.
All right, thank you. All right. Adam, do you have an update on the state of our farm?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Joe's filled in most of the updates, but so the AX machines, there's new replacements from a different system that he's been working on, so they should be ready soon. The PPC switching to Cent 7, the machines are ready, but they're not enabled yet, so there's a discussion Joe wants to have in the any other business section about turning those on. The 390, there was an issue at Maris last night with the DNS, so they're aware of that, so they're working on resolving that. Hopefully that'll be fixed shortly because that's blocking builds. Artifactory PR's delivered, everything's ready, but we haven't enabled it because of the UNB issue it's talk about. In terms of the disk usage on the OSU Artifactory, it's up another 10%. I'm assuming this is still due to the debug images being added. So we have to keep a close eye on that this week, because if it goes over, we're... So we'll have to maybe reduce our history on that a bit.
Okay.
So yeah, in terms of the P box issue, we think it's resolved, but we can talk about that under any other business. Or now, I don't know, whatever you want.
I was just going to ask you about the disk usage. Should we proactively decrease that, given we're at 91%?
We can. Let me just pull up what we're at right now. So on the nightly, we store...
I wonder if we could remove some specific things like results from grinders to grinder results go into Artifactory.
How many of them do we keep? Let's see.
So that might be something to reduce. The other thing is we started running some of those OpenJDK tests, and when they fail, you get an artifact that's full of core files because there was all sorts of tests. Maybe not all sorts, but 6 or so tests that get out of memories, and the default behavior is to create a profile. So I made a partial fix for that. So now we're down to only 2 core files. Plus the OpenJDK tests were failing every day on Linux. So I think we could probably purge some old results from OpenJDK. I don't need them.
So we keep 30 grinders. Nightly, we keep 40. Omar build, we keep 20. And the OpenJDK acceptance, we keep 20 from each release. PRs, we keep 50 of each.
Okay. It sounds like Pete's suggesting we could purge some of the old OpenJDK ones, and that'll help bring the number down. And then we'll have to keep watching it and see if it's continuing to go up or if we've hit the new high water mark.
I was also running a lot of grinders on AIX, and each one of those artifacts, whenever it got uploaded, was quite big. So actually, yeah, that's the other thing is on AIX, extended system is failing on 11 and 14 almost every night. And the artifact is going to be quite big there. So my internet's down, but once I get connectivity back, I'll work with you, Adam, to try and figure out how we can reduce the usage.
Okay, sounds good.
So why don't we jump into I see you've moved the items down there to any other business. So I don't see Sue on the call, so we'll skip over the website. And Joe, did you want to take us through the other business that you had included here?
Sure. Well, basically and I'm hoping I'm not on mute, so I'm hoping I have volume on this call. I didn't earlier.
Here you go.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I've asked a lot of this interaction went between Rush and I back and forth as we were trying to debug what was wrong with the Power KVM host. So he figured out that how the CPU was actually set up and configured for KVM was done wrong. So he has since corrected that, and the systems have been pretty stable. I've thrown a couple of pull requests at it through the PR that was detailed up higher above for the Cent 7 compile machine changes. The overall utilization on the system was under 25%. So he believes the system is now stable and that we have that resolved. Now, we still don't have the ability to have someone on site if something goes wrong, but we don't believe this is going to be an issue. We believe that if we took a staged approach, like, because there's multiple issues that actually could impact this. One being, enabling Artifactory, the other being converting the compiles over to Sense 7. And what was the other one? Nothing. Just those two issues. So we believe we're already compiling largely on the UMB Ubuntu 16 machines. So all we're doing is changing which hosts are actually going to be doing compiles. So there should be no net gain or loss for compiles. It's really the Artifactory server that might cause some instability or additional utilization. So we'd like to actually go ahead with converting the compiles over to Sense 7 and then see how it works, make sure there's no problems for a week or two, and then actually go ahead with the Artifactory changes.
How long have we had the issue that you were talking about the root issue resolved around the configuration of the machine?
Just about a week. It was on the, actually I can pull that up in Slack and tell you the exact day he figured it out.
About a week is fine. It was just wanting to make sure this wasn't resolved or changed yesterday.
No, I wanted to let it sit for a few days just to make sure everything was stable. And Raj has been watching basically the CPU utilization at different points during the day when we have lots of PRs, or obviously it's no sense in watching it when it's not busy. And it's been pretty stable and pretty low utilization across the whole Power 8 host. So that's, he actually came to me and said he was pretty sure it's fine. So
the thing I don't like is we don't have a fallback plan, because if we do lose that host, we're going to be severely crippled for power.
Right. Well, that's why I was suggesting just moving over the Sense 7, the compile one first, because we're already compiling there. And
So
yes, there is a risk.
Are we taking machines offline once we bring the new ones online?
Well, actually, that was because of how the CPU is configured and allocated the first time, we were overcommitting the machine, and that was why we were getting CPU lockups. So now that has been resolved, we could leave what's currently on there, but there are all the Ubuntu 16 systems are set up with 16 CPUs, and they don't need to be that high. So we could cut those back to 4, 6, 8, whichever is determined, and that would also give extra idleness to the available processors that we have on that system.
It sounds good in theory, but we're going to be stuck if something goes wrong. And I don't know that the gain is worth it.
Okay, I'm fine with putting this on hold until we get there, as long as there's agreement with that.
Yep. If there was some way we could get somebody in an emergency, but if we're totally locked out, then I don't see why we should take the risk. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, Pete. I'd rather wait than be in a situation where we don't have any machines. If we can fallback plan, so that if we lose these machines, here's what we can do instead, then we might be in a position where we can proceed. But completely losing our ability to compile on those platforms doesn't sound like the right choice at the moment.
To be clear, we'll have 3P at OSU still, but it'll just be really bottlenecked on that platform.
Yeah, we can't get through the testing that we run with those 3 machines.
Right.
We'd have to severely cut it back. We'd probably have to turn off the large heap build.
Okay, no worries. We'll put it up. Well, I'll keep in touch with our folks at UMB on site. And, when that becomes not an issue, then we can bring the topic up again.
Yeah, as soon as somebody could get in there, even if it's just, it has to be an emergency to get in, but if they can get in at all, then I'd say go for it. But
I just took a note to that effect on the agenda here. Thanks, Joe, for bringing that forward. Is there any other business people want to discuss today? All right, then. Thank you, everybody, and we'll host the next one of these on April the 8th.
thanks.
Bye.